Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Karis May, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Colonel Mike McMahon. Welcome. We are honoured to acknowledge Lieutenant General Mark Poffley, Deputy Chief of General Staff, British Army from the United Kingdom, Lieutenant General Shigeki Muto, Director General, Operations Department, Joint Staff Japan, and Vice Admiral David Johnston, Royal Australian Navy, Chief Joint Operations, Australian Defence Force, and Ms Helene Lekawe, Minister for Higher Education from New Caledonia. We extend a warm welcome to all members of the military and civilian communities who are with us here tonight. Shortly, we will read the story of Staff Nurse Ruby Dickinson, Australian Army Nursing Service. Today is the first time the ceremony has been delivered by an all-female catafalque party, piper and bugler. Not only do we honour the service of all women who have served in war and operations, but also acknowledge the contribution of nurses, medics and doctors in the service of our nation. We welcome all the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony from around Australia. During the ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors and students on behalf of the following schools: St Bridget's Primary School, Kyogle from New South Wales, and Jesmond Public School from Jesmond, also in New South Wales, and from Victoria, Mill Park Primary School. Shortly, Australia's Federation Guard will dismount the catafalque party from the tomb of the unknown Australian soldier within the Hall of Memory. Australia's Federation Guard is a tri-service ceremonial unit of the Australian Defence Force. It provides a ceremonial presence during visits to Australia by foreign dignitaries and for civil and military events, including here at the Australian War Memorial. Historically, a catafalque was a support for a coffin, and a catafalque party was appointed to guard the coffin from theft or desecration. Now it performs a ceremonial role, honouring the dead. Once again, the Guard members enter the commemorative area. They'll replicate the drill of a catafalque party placed around the tomb of the unknown Australian soldier. To commence this evening's ceremony, I'd like to invite you all to stand and join in singing the national anthem. Boys and girls, you may now be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed at the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and other operations for over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to staff nurse Ruby Dickinson. Born in Forbes in New South Wales, Ruby was the daughter of William and Julia Dickinson. Following her schooling, she trained at the Lister Private Hospital in Sydney between 1906 and 1911. In June 1914, Dickinson wed Frederick Body, a grazier from Cooma. They had been married little more than a year when Dickinson enlisted in the AIF's Australian Army Nursing Service in July 1915. Only nurses who were unmarried were eligible to join the service, so Dickinson used her maiden name. More than 3,000 Australian civilian nurses volunteered for active service during the First World War, most of them with the Australian Army Nursing Service. They were posted to Britain, France, Belgium, the Mediterranean, India and the Middle East, where they worked in hospitals, on hospital ships and trains, or in casualty clearing stations nearer to the front line. Dickinson embarked for overseas service within days of enlisting. From September 1915 to January 1916, she was attached to the 3rd Australian General Hospital on the island of Lemnos, where her patients included Australians wounded during the fighting on Gallipoli. After Lemnos, Dickinson spent several months nursing in Egypt. In July 1916, she was assigned as the nurse in charge on the hospital ship Siang Chun, which was returning to Australia with sick and wounded men. She left Australia again in January 1917, this time bound for service in England. Attached to the 3rd Australian Auxiliary Hospital, in October Dickinson was sent to France, where the 3rd Australian General Hospital had been re-established. Soon after arriving, she became ill and was sent to England to recuperate. She returned to nursing work in January 1918 with the 1st Australian Auxiliary Hospital at Harefield in England. Dickinson again dedicated herself to the job of nursing soldiers while ignoring her own ill health. On the 23rd of June, she reported sick to her superiors in Harefield and was immediately transferred to the Australian Nurses Hospital in Southwell Gardens, London. She died of pneumonia that afternoon. Nurse Dickinson was buried with full military honours in the Harefield Parish Churchyard. On the 22nd of October 1918, her mother wrote to the authorities about her daughter, who was just 32 upon her death, saying, "I am told she was much appreciated for her steadfastness to duty and nursing skills, much beloved by the sick and wounded for whom she worked so hard. I shall always have the consolation of knowing that she died doing her duty." Nurse Ruby Dickinson's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among the 60,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. Her photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. She sits with 8 unidentified patients from Ward 40, number 1 Australian Auxiliary Hospital. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Staff Nurse Ruby Dickinson, who gave her life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better life.
Boys and girls, could you please stand for the ode and last post?
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Catafalque Party presents arms. lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
Catapult party, outdoors! Turn! Catapult party, quick! March!
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this evening's last post-ceremony. We would like to thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today, and we wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.